Hello everyone, welcome to Ashford. Welcome to my battlefield on this Sunday afternoon or the 23rd of August 2026. And as we speak, it is taking place in Mongolia, the 70th United Nations Conventions to combat desertifications. This is a serious matter. Why? Because today, more than 40% of the global cropland is degraded. A degraded cropland is a cropland that cannot sustain life, that cannot feed people, and that put nearly half of world populations at risk. We are going straight into the war. And if this trend is allowed to continue, by 2050, more than 90% of the global cropland will be degraded. That is terrific. Terrific. Where our food will come from if we live on a land that can no longer sustain the crop that we require to feed ourselves. How did we manage to reach this level of soil degradations? And what will it take to make a complete U-turn of these catastrophic situations that may put mankind's life at risk? Everything I've just harvested was grown with zero soil disturbance, zero plowing, zero toxic fertilizers, zero toxic pesticide, very, very little water. Bearing in mind that the UK have just clocked its longest and severe drought ever in record. Not to mention 4 heat waves with temperature above the 35 degrees mark. It may seem impossible for a lot of you who see this, but depending on the technique that is used, anything becomes a child play. Look at this. This is as fresh as the nature can give you. Please join me to make a very nice salad. While this is a clean food with no chemical toxic residue. I still have to wash it because of physical residue like soil or birds droppings. Yes, it's important. How did you manage to get to this level of soil degradations? First of all, we have to recognize that the soil is home to billions, billions, billions of living matter. In a single spoonful of earth or soil, there are more living microorganisms in that soil than there are human beings on earth. So soil is a living medium. They actually hold more living matters than any other media on earth. Mamma mia, what a freshness. It bursts into your mouth. Nature bursts into your mouth. You must try this. You must try this. You got to grow part of the food you eat. You must try this. Jesus Christus. Nature's best kept secret. Bellissimo. Having said that the soul is a living matter, it becomes simple to understand that every time you disturb the soil, you disturb life in the soil. It is the life in the soil that sustains plant life. Without soil life, there is no plant life. So, through our poor practices, i.e., through soil disturbance, by plowing the ground, we expose that soil life to the element. And when on top of it, we come and spray toxic fertilizer, toxic pesticide, not to mention the effect of erosions. Life in the soil disappear quickly as thin air. And we have been doing as human beings, disturbing the soil for years, for surely for the last 50 or 60 years, in a way that is not in line with the planet, that does not respect the simple principle of life. Hence, today, we are picking the broken pieces. Our soul is degraded to a point where it needs urgent actions. With all what I've just named, it becomes clear that our soil is fast degrading because of our poor agricultural practices, especially conventional farming. Is the worst. And what do we have to do to make a U-turn from that shift? We must first of all avoid anything that will degrade the soil. Number two, where soil is so degraded, we need to reduce soil degradation. Number three, we need to restore where soil degradation is taking place. We need to restore the soil. And the only way, the cheap way, the way that is scalable, is to go conservation farming. Conservation farming is that agricultural practice where you don't disturb the soil, i.e. you don't disturb life in the soil. You maintain a cover over the soil. You don't use toxic pesticide. You don't use toxic herbicide. You don't use toxic fertilizers. You help the soil or life in the soil to grow, and it's that life in the soil that feed the plant and enable you to have crop like this, enable you to survive heat wave, enable you to survive drought. I've stopped disturbing the soil on this plot for the last 5 years, together with zero pesticide, zero fertilizers, and this have enabled the microorganisms in the soil to thrive, giving plant at the drop of a hat whatever the plant require. During the heat wave and the drought, while my neighbors were watering the plant in the morning and in the afternoon, I was having a break. I wasn't watering the plant at all because the soil has remained moist. Life in the soil was in the move, feeding my plant with whatever they require. If you come here, you see that everything here is green. Anything else there is brown. Why? Because the focus was to maintain life in the soil. You keep life in the soil on the go, you keep your plant on the go. A simple principle. Conservation agriculture is the way to go on the face of climate change. If you are into farming and you are into conventional farming, you must get into transition now. Yesterday was the best way to transition from conventional farming into conservation farming. Today is the last chance to achieve that transition. Tomorrow is going to be too late to do so. The weather of tomorrow, the heat, the drought will not allow you to transition from conventional farming into conservation farming. That means that your soil won't be able to sustain any form of cropping. Farmland that are not into full swing conservation farming in the next 5 or 10 years will bear no fruit, will be abandoned. Hence, I call upon leaders across the globe to ensure that they align the agricultural policies, especially in Africa, where the heat wave, the drought, will hit hard farmers. These conservation agriculture practices must become a common practice everywhere where farming takes place. Failing to do that, failing to do this, Africa in particular, and the world in general, will pay a hefty price. Listen, it was just to say ciao to you, and I hope to see you where the man up there will take me next. Until then, ciao. I showed you this plant last week. They were very tiny, small. Look, within only 7 days, how big they grown into. And that is because of what goes on below the ground, inside the soil. See the difference for yourself.